We're now going to look at repeat signs in music. Now, the reason we use repeat signs is because in a lot of scores of music, certain parts of the composition will be repeated. So you'll get a phrase of music that then needs to be written out again. And this can make some sheet music scores really, really long. So what we do is we use a repeat sign when we want you to repeat a particular part of the music, but you need to understand these and know how to use them. So let's have a look. So a repeat sign, what is it? Well, it tells you when to repeat a piece of a sheet music. So this is what they look like. They're a double bar line with one slightly thicker than the other and two dots. When the dots are on the right, this is a start repeat sign, and when the dots are on the left, this is an end repeat sign. So let's take a look at a piece of music. This is Amazing Grace, which we did a few lessons back. We'll just take two lines from it. When you see double bar lines at the end, hopefully you've remembered that this means that's the end of the piece of music, so you can stop playing. That's what a double bar line means. Now, if we were to switch that to our end repeat sign, so the little dots are on the left, this tells us we have to repeat the music. So it's basically telling you to go back to the start. So we'd play line 1 and line 2. We see the end repeat sign, so we go back to the beginning and play them again. And it's as simple as that. Now, it doesn't have to happen at the end of a piece of music. So let's say there's another couple of lines to our music here. Our repeat sign is still at the end of line 2, and then we've got the double bar lines at the end of line 4. So we know the end of line 4 is the very end of the piece, but we're going to have to repeat lines 1 and 2. So we'd play line 1, and then we would play line 2, and then we'd have to play line 1 again because of the end repeat line. We'd play line 2 again, and then we would play to the end of the piece, line 3, and then line 4. Now, let's say this end repeat sign wasn't at the end of line 2. Let's say it was at the end of line 4. Well, all this means is you go back to the very beginning again. So you'd play lines 1 through to 4, you'd hit that end repeat sign, and you'd have to go back to line 1 and play all the way through to line 4 again. So you're just playing this piece of music twice. But the composer might not want you to play the whole piece of music twice. He only might want you to play lines 3 and 4 twice. Now, if this is what he wants, he'll give you a start repeat sign, which looks like this. So the rule of thumb is, if you get to an end repeat sign, you jump all the way back to the beginning. But if you see a start repeat sign, then you jump back to that start repeat sign. So in these 4 lines, we do have a start repeat line at the beginning of line 3. So that's where we're going to jump to when we get to that end repeat sign. So this piece of music would sound like this. But it doesn't always have to be an entire line that the composer wants you to repeat. He can pick just a couple of bars if he wants to. So you might see this. So we've put our start repeat and our end repeat just on these 2 bars in the middle of line 2. So what we would do in this case is we would play all the way through line 1 and then all the way through line 2 until we hit that end repeat sign. And then we'd have to go back to the start repeat and play all the way through until the end. So it would sound like this. Now, where you'll see these repeat signs used a lot is when a piece of music is exactly the same, but the very end is slightly different the second time you play it through. And the composer can't be bothered to write out the piece of music twice, so he gives you an alternative ending, and that looks like this. So you still have your start repeat and end repeat signs, but this time the composer has let you know that the second time you play it through, he wants you to change the very ending. And he does that using these little brackets. So this is telling you there's the first ending and the second ending. The first ending, we're going to a G, and then we have to repeat back to the start, but the second ending, we're going to end on that C. Now, as it goes, I've put in a start repeat sign here. I don't actually need that, because obviously if you got to that end repeat sign, you would just go back to the beginning, but I'll leave it in there for now as I've put it in. So the first time we play through this piece, we go all the way along line 1 and then along line 2 until we reach the repeat sign. So we've played the first ending. And then of course we have to go all the way back to the beginning, but this time we play it through, we play the second ending. So this piece of music would sound like this. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea of how to use repeat signs and how to follow tempo markings. I will of course add your daily practice plan to this lesson, which will be testing you on this and giving you examples of this. So do make sure you give them all a go.